Hi, my name is Kim, and today I'll be telling you guys my personal story. So, this story takes place in a moment in time that nobody remembers fondly: middle school. During middle school, we're grappling with weird young teenage emotions. Socially, we're a little bit of an outcast, and we're overall kind of timid and just awkward. Now, imagine having to go through all that and pairing it with your father telling you, hey, it's time to pack up because we're moving countries. That was my experience. At 13 years old, my dad told me that it was time to pack up my life into a few bags because we were going to move to the United States. I was devastated, to say the least. I did not want to go. Why would I want to go to the United States if my friends, my family, my entire life was in Durango, Mexico? But as we can tell, that didn't work out. And so before I knew it, we were on the road to Phoenix, Arizona, with just bags full of our lives, ready to start a new one. The first night in Phoenix was weird, to say the least. Everything felt different, like somehow my world had shifted and nothing felt normal. I felt like a stranger within my environment. Just the night before, I was back at home, very comfortable in my house, and now I was standing in the middle of an apartment with the expectation that I make do with what I had. And so I continued. Then, of course, I started middle school in the United States, and that was a whole challenge within itself. The curriculum felt very different. The curriculum was ahead. I didn't understand English that well, so I struggled a lot during that time. I couldn't even speak without having to pause to think of proper translation. And socially, because I hadn't grown up with these students, I was an outcast. And just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. At the beginning, maybe a few weeks into my schooling here, my father got a call from our family back home. And something had happened, and he desperately needed to go back to help. That was obviously very devastating for me because he had been my support system throughout the entirety of my life. And we were going through this change together because he missed home as much as I missed home. And now I wasn't going to have him either. Not only that, but I was left in the care of my stepmother, who at that point I had a very awkward relationship with. We were more like strangers than anything. And worst of all, I felt like I couldn't feel my emotions. I couldn't be sad because my little sister, who had stayed behind with me, she was feeling sad and she was turning to me to comfort in the absence of my father. The first few days of his departure were not good for me. I spent most of it crying and mourning the life I had and just wishing my dad was there to tell me that everything would be okay. But it's okay because ultimately I persevered. I continued on doing what I needed to do, and eventually I made friends. I got straight A's, and I like to think now that my English is so good you can barely tell that there was a period in time that I did not know it. Now when things arise where I feel lost and unable to do it, I think about that first night here. I think about all the different emotions that I felt, that weird feeling of being so out of touch with the environment you're in. And I internalize it and I keep going, because if I could overcome that, I can overcome more. And so from then on, I like to remind myself whenever I feel incompetent or unable to do something that I am capable of more than I believe.